Wrath of Hahn.
Run!
Hahn! The bad injury luck that seems to have, and bad luck in general, that it seems to follow Rick Hahn throughout his career. And this year is no exception. These last couple of weeks is no exception. I saw the stat. It's outdated now, but it was from last week. But at one point in the last 365 days, the White Sox had suffered 53 injuries, which calculates out to one every 3 games. Like
Sounds
an
about
injury that
right.
would put somebody on the IL, essentially. I think is what it was, which is just insane to think about. So I think Wrath of Hahn is real. I mean, there's no other way to explain what's going on. We had weirdness going on with Luis Robert when we took a break here. You had the significant injury of Tim Anderson, which I didn't fully understand when I saw it, and you had brought some clarity. It was on a check swing
Yeah,
that he.
he checked his swing and then he starts like shaking out his hand. No one really thought anything of it because he stayed in the game.
Yeah.
And
Well, you wouldn't think
he
anyone would get injured on a check swing, but it can happen apparently.
yeah, and he had to have the of all fingers, his infamous middle fingers where
The irony.
the ligament, I believe it was repaired.
Wow.
So
Yeah, he did
I
have
mean,
surgery officially, didn't he?
yeah, he had surgery. You
Now
know,
I saw 4 to 6 weeks. Has that changed? Has
no,
that
it's
changed at
six.
all?
No, well, it's just 6 weeks.
Oh wow.
So he
That
comes back with 2 weeks to go in the season,
that was my
basically,
next question. Is that the very end of the season then? So you've got boy.
and that's six out of the final nine are against the Twins. So,
Mm, wow.
including not only 6 out of the last nine are against the Twin, but the other three are against the Padres.
Wow.
Who will probably, because of just the original situation they had dug themselves into, kind of be clawing for a wild card position.
Mm.
So should be an interesting end of the season if it matters at that point.
The other part of that injury stat I was talking about earlier with the 53 injuries in 365 days is those injuries had occurred to White Sox players in every region of the body
Yeah,
except for the left hand or wrist, which was taken care of by one Tim Anderson. So now every region of the body has now been affected with one injury or another from the 53 that the White Sox have suffered over the last year.
yeah, and
That's fucked up. I'm sorry. That's just crazy.
it is crazy. And what's even crazier about how not much has changed when we left, Robert was on the IL for what was later diagnosed as some sort of virus.
Okay.
Um, at least, I mean, that's what the team said
You and I were talking about it. They were talking about his symptoms, but they never told the reason why. He
yeah,
had the dizziness and blurred vision, but we never heard what the real issue was. But it's been revealed it was a virus. But
it
they
was a
didn't.
virus. Yeah.
Okay.
And then in the Detroit series, he's stealing second and slides
Mm.
into the base,
Yeah, that looked
is
ugly.
is out, and then the way he was rolling on the ground, I thought like I didn't know what was wrong with him. I thought like he had injured his leg or something again, and it turned out it's a sprained wrist.
Yeah, he
The
jammed his wrist.
Yeah, he jammed his wrists. I mean, the X-rays were negative, and this is gonna get me off on a little bit of a rant here for a second, where which you and I talked about specifically with Eloy Jimenez back on In the Hole when he was always seemed to like have a nagging injury or
Mm-hmm.
injuries that you and I started to unprofessionally, because we're not professionals, diagnose as injuries that some players would probably play through.
Mm.
And there is this weird, I feel like there's this weird, you watch Jose Abreu go out there and there's shit bothering him all the
Yeah.
fucking time, but he wants to be out there every day playing. And how the younger White Sox players, specifically his fellow countrymen, the fellow Cuban players who look up to him, don't see that and don't want to be like that is beyond me, because I feel sometimes when Eloy Jimenez sits out and this, even with the Robert with this wrist situation, I think these are injuries that other players play through on a regular basis, and they just do not know how to deal with the slightest amount of pain.
I have a theory about this.
Go ahead.
You might know exactly where I'm going, but brought this up starting probably 2 years ago. Well, probably right when we first started podcasting. Critical of Rick Hahn's philosophy of signing young players to long-term deals before he had to. That has been a staple of the Rick Hahn, or at least of this incarnation of your White Sox. All the young players he signed to long-term deals before they were
Right.
even arbitration eligible. And is there potential? I mean, I brought up all several reasons that could be a big issue going forward, but one of which was, could they get complacent? Could they be happy, rich, young baseball players living their best lives, have already accomplished all their off-field goals, and kind of maybe those things take precedence over making all their on-field goals realized? And this is anecdotal evidence. I mean, we're just seeing, what you just brought up, that it doesn't seem like they're too motivated to be on the field through tough times, or any kind of potential injury or a little bit of pain here and there. But we've also seen performance in general from many of those players not quite living up to what everyone thought they would be at this point. So
Yeah, no, I think that going back in the crystal ball, and I remember us talking about that. I think there's reason those deals make sense, and then this is this is a reason those deals don't make sense, or those deals are a bad move. Perhaps the reason Jose Abreu plays the way he does is because he gets 3-year contracts, not 7-year, $50 million contract for doing nothing yet, basically,
right.
for doing very little, at least,
Yeah.
yeah, I think 100%. I was having this exact conversation with my friend Tim, and I think Mankata may be part of that, part of that whole thing too. Like, it's just like,
He was who I was thinking about most of that
yeah, I mean,
conversation. But
2018, he didn't have the contract.
yeah.
Best year of his career. So, maybe the Sox window really is that year where all these contracts are up. They
Wow.
got a 1-year window.
Yeah.
But even you think about Timmy's on an option this year, 12.5 million
Timmy's
option
banged
for
up.
next year. But
Timmy
Timmy's banged
is
up.
he
And
came back. I believe he came back too early from that groin injury, because he's been a shadow of his former self even when he came
well,
back, and now he's
I,
hurt again. But
never would I say that Tim Anderson not being available is a good thing, but at the same time,
mm,
him not being available and what AJ Pollock has been doing at the leadoff
yeah,
spot has really been a plus for this team,
TA was
because TA was not
scary
himself.
dangerous. Yeah, he
Yeah,
used to be scary dangerous at that leadoff spot. He was, for most of his career, he looked to opponents, he looked scary leading off, and he made damage, and he has not looked like that since he came back from that groin injury.
yeah,
I
no,
think he
I
was out
agree.
a total of 3 weeks with that, and then
Yeah,
came back, and it just hasn't looked right.
I mean, even last year he only played 123 games because they rested him all that time down the stretch. Part
Yeah,
of the
that's
reason
right.
was they could, but he played 123 games last year. So I think he's
Huh.
at 85 this year, so he won't even hit that.
Word Hole Media.